Hello everybody and welcome to today's video, and in today's video I'll be doing a 2024 or 2022 Senate prediction update. I don't know that my predictions actually changed that much. It might just be changing one characterization of a state. But yeah, I'm just labeling all the safe states. This is coming out a bit later than I intended for it to. It's not necessarily terribly late. I think it's actually earlier than typical, but I was watching an episode of The Simpsons that I wanted to finish, and I also had some rice and chicken that I consumed, as one typically does with rice and chicken. Um, so yeah, speaking of which, so Erica's the chicken part. I'm considering becoming a vegan. Like, let me know if you guys think I should or not. But leaving on the Democrats' likely states, I'm gonna give them Colorado, and that is actually, I think this is the first time in a very long time that I've actually given the Democrats likely states. I think I labeled Colorado safe, so I think this is like the first time in a while that I've given them likely states. The Republicans likely states: Alaska, Missouri, Florida, New Hampshire, Colorado. Biden almost carried it by a safe margin, and Bennett ran ahead of Clinton. But I don't think that necessarily Bennett would have run ahead of Biden. I think that he and Biden are very similar candidates. Biden only carried it by a likely margin. I'm gonna give it to Bennett by a likely margin as well. Even if it will shift to the left, it could be safe, but I'm still gonna give it to him likely. In Missouri, I've labeled this lean before. Last time I did a prediction for the Senate, I believe I labeled it likely. A lot of my reasoning for labeling it lean was that Lucas Kunce, I thought, was going to be a strong enough candidate for white rural voters, which he is a relatively strong candidate for white rural voters for a Democrat, especially against someone that's unpopular or as bad of a candidate as Eric Greitens. But at the end of the day, yes, Kunce is a stronger candidate for white rural voters, but a lot of them are gonna split towards Greitens regardless. Um, so I see it being enough to make Missouri likely, but probably single digits still, but definitely above lean. Maybe I could see it potentially being lean, but I don't see it being a likely enough scenario. I think the best case for the Democrats is probably a tilt R. If it's some miraculous blue wave for the Democrats, maybe tilt D. I could see it being lean D, but it's incredibly unlikely. It would For that to happen, it would probably be something like some incredibly Democratic wave where Ohio is like D+6, without Sherrod Brown. Like with Sherrod Brown, that's not necessarily the most insane thing, but it would be very difficult for the Democrats to do. In Florida, regardless of the Democratic nominee, whether it's Val Demings or Stephanie Murphy, I see Marco Rubio having enough appeal to Hispanic and Latino voters, and I see him doing well enough in the suburbs with the older white voters that he ultimately carries it by probably 8 or 9%. In New Hampshire, um, Sununu is just so overwhelmingly popular. Yes, Maggie Hassan used to be a governor, but the thing is, Hassan only won by like 5%. Yes, it was a red wave, but even if we assume that it shifted it drastically to the right, even if she were to have won by like 20%, that's still a double digit. Sununu still would have won by double digits more than Hassan. I'm gonna get to Sununu probably by 7 or 8 in this. Alaska, I used to fully understand ranked choice voting. I've kind of forgotten how it works. But either way, I see Murkowski just not necessarily being a huge force in this. I see among Republican voters, Murkowski. I think that probably like 55 to 60% of Alaska is like Republicans, or conservatives, or people who are on the right of the political scale, even if they be center right. Like Murkowski, I think that she's probably only gonna win of those Republican voters. Of that 60%, I see it probably being, I'm not gonna do like the percentages within 60, but probably being her winning about 10% at best, maybe 15%, whereas the other Republican candidate carries between what 45, or gets like 45% to, oh gosh, this is hard. I'm not thinking right. Probably between, if it's 60% in the best case for her, or if the probably largest share of the electorate is 60%, and the best case for the GOP is the that Murkowski only carries. Okay. Whew. Okay. Probably between like 50 and 40% of the vote is by the GOP, whereas the Democrats will probably get 45%. I see it likely going to the GOP by a fairly large margin. In fact, I could see Shabaka even carrying it from the without even going into the second round. I could see Shabaka getting enough of first round voters, or enough voters for like the first choice. But if not, it almost certainly Shabaka wins. I'm gonna give it to the GOP likely. Murkowski, I don't think it's gonna win. I think it's highly unlikely that Lisa Murkowski wins. This will probably be her last few years in the Senate. For the Democrats' lean states, I'm gonna give them Nevada and Georgia, whereas the GOP, I'm gonna give Ohio. So in Nevada for the Democratic Party, Adam Laxalt, I don't think is a necessarily horrendous nominee. I mean, like, he lost by like 4% in a governor election, like a D+9 environment, which is, I mean, like, it's actually relatively impressive. I mean, I guess it was a flip seat, so that probably contributed to it being voting farther to the right of where it typically would have if it weren't a flip on the gubernatorial level. Yet, I still think it's relatively impressive, but CCM is an incumbent now. She has enough Hispanic and Latino appeal, and I think she's going to do better in Washoe. I see her probably doing well. I'm like, if she doesn't carry it, it would probably be kind of baffling. So I'm going to give it to CCM Lean. It's upwards of 4%, but I doubt it. Georgia, Raphael Warnock has enough appeal to black voters. Herschel Walker just won't turn out as many white rural voters, and it's going to hurt him. Probably Warnock plus 2 or 3-ish. Ohio, this could easily be likely. I mean, like Josh Mandel, and assuming that Josh Mandel is the nominee, Mandel and Tim Ryan, I feel like have where their strong suits are. I feel like will probably be in fairly similar areas. It's fairly similar demographics, and I feel like a lot of them would actually split for Tim Ryan. It could easily be likely high lean, low likely. But for now, I'm gonna still keep it in lean column, but it could easily be likely. Keep that in mind. For the Democrats' tilt states, they get Arizona, Pennsylvania, and I'm gonna keep Wisconsin in the tilt D column. It could be tilt R. For now, I'm gonna keep it in the tilt D column. Arizona, I think that Brnovich is actually probably gonna be stronger than many would think. For traditional conservatives in the suburbs, I think he has enough appeal to push it down to a tilt margin against Mark Kelly, especially Mark Kelly, whose strong suit I would not say is Hispanic and Latino voters. When I think of what demographics is Mark Kelly just going to do phenomenal with, I don't typically think of Hispanic and Latino voters, if at all. In Pennsylvania, I mean, like, honestly, I haven't informed myself well enough on the Pennsylvania governor or gubernatorial race, but I'm getting to wonder if, or I was considering doing a governor video. I don't think I know enough yet about it to do a full-on video quite yet, but I used to know every governor. I think I've forgotten a lot of them, which is kind of sad that I knew them and then I forgot them. To be fair, I've also forgotten some senators, or not so forgotten. It might take me a minute to remember some senators from some states, but in Pennsylvania, it feels like the Pennsylvania Democratic Party is nominating, or a lot of their candidates are going to this race. I mean, like if I were to think of the top 2 candidates for the Democratic Party in Pennsylvania, I would think Connor Lamb and John Fetterman. I would think that if you're the Democratic Party, you would want to run Lamb in the gubernatorial race, but I think that both Lamb and Fetterman are relatively strong candidates. I've been seeing people on election Twitter like fighting about this a lot, which is kind of fun. I guess that they're like, or not to say fun that they're fighting, but it's kind of interesting. But I see either way. I do think that Lamb probably does worse than Fetterman. I don't see him having as much white working class appeal. I do see him having better suburban appeal. Honestly, probably better appeal in Philly. So Lamb and Fetterman are fairly similar nominees. Fetterman though can what's the term? Why am I forgetting the term? Ride Tom Wolf's coattails. Sorry, I forgot the term for a second there, but I think he can probably ride Tom Wolf's coattails sufficiently. But they're probably going to win by fairly similar margins. I could see it being lean, but for now I'm going to give it to the Democratic Party tilt. Wisconsin, I mean, like it's debatable. It's incredibly it's if the GOP nominates someone who isn't Ron Johnson, who isn't essentially in terms of electoral strength, isn't like a clone of Ron Johnson, then they're probably gonna carry this seat realistically. Um, but for now, I mean, like Godlewski, I think has the appeal, and I think it's more of, or a lot of it's a Ron Johnson not having appeal thing. I mean, like he's not gonna have. I don't see him having. I think he's kind of shot himself in the foot here, honestly, with his leanings, because he's very establishmentarian and corporatist, which is not going to help him with the white working class. He is also very Trumpist, which is going to hurt him in the WoW counties. The only area where he might be successful is with white rural voters, but only being as a Republican, only being successful with one of those three major demographics, um, is not necessarily like the best thing. If you're a Republican, you definitely want to be stronger for those demographics. Which it's very problematic. If like it looks like Johnson's probably gonna run. I mean, like, given the pressure from Trump. To be fair though, if he doesn't give in to the pressure, he's essentially fine because his political career is probably over. Um, Actually, he did say he wanted to run for governor, in which case that's not a good idea. He's gonna lose potentially by a lean margin. It's definitely possible that he loses by a lean margin, so that would be a very bad idea. Especially given the fact he'd probably lose a lot of support from the GOP base from Trump attacking him. Um, but for now, I'm gonna keep that in the tilt column. North Carolina, it could be a lean. It could be a lean. Ted Budd has lots of rural appeal and lots of working class appeal. Beasley's going to do pretty well with the black vote though, and do pretty decent in the suburbs. Probably like a half a percentage margin for the GOP. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like below. Stay tuned for my next video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please comment your suggestions down below, and I'll see you all, or I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye!